Hey, how are you doing? We're waiting for folks to join the room, and I am jumping off of another project, so I'm going to grab something for you real quick. In the chat, I am putting a link to the workbook, so you can pull that up if you'd like, and we'll go through the workbook as we go through the session. Welcome, welcome. Where are you guys from?
Hi, I'm from Akron, Ohio.
Ah, I'm from Warren.
Hey, how are you?
Hey! That's awesome. I love Ohioans and our crazy weather.
The weather.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I know a lot of times people will slowly trickle in, and also sometimes people are at work, so they can't um, get in the chat as much and so forth. So I'm just going to navigate through everything. And then if for some reason you do have to get back to work or what have you, I will make sure that I'll send you an email. Make sure that you guys check. I sent one out yesterday for some of the folks, and it's showing up like in promotions or like in your spam box, even though it's like my business name. So just can you check all of those for me so the replay will be there? Eleanor is from London. Oh, nice. Do you have an accent, Eleanor? Because I love that accent. She's like, no, I don't.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I do. Well, no, I don't. You can hear the English accent.
I know, right? You're like, no, I don't have an accent. You have an accent. I
Uh,
love it. I love it.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, Belinda. Nice to have you here. Well, I am so excited once again, and I promised. I'm just turning my phone off, so sorry about that. I promised a 12 o'clock start, so let's get started. All right, share my screen here. Okay. All right, there we go. There we go. You guys should be able to see that now. All right. All right. Once again, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to be with you guys. Before we get going, I want to tell you two things. First, stick around to the very end today because I have a bonus I'm only giving to the people who show up live to the call. And I'll tell you exactly what that is in our last few minutes together. So don't leave early, even if you think you already know what you came for. And second, let me tell you who this is for. And so that'll make sure that we are all in the right place. If you are in the kitchen at 8 p.m. at night, looking for something sweet, even when you aren't hungry, you are in the right place. If you've ever tried white knuckling your way off of sugar for 4 days and then watch all of it fall apart, you are in the right place. You're in the right place if you've been told this is just part of getting older and something in you doesn't believe that's the whole story, and you are in the right place if you are exhausted from starting over. My name is Stephanie Shaw, and I am a Christian health coach. I have two nutrition certifications. I'm also the host of a podcast called Hello Hot Flash, and I help women in midlife understand what's actually happening in their bodies without the guesswork and without leaving their faith at the door. I think that's one of the most important parts, if not, if that is the most important part. Here is the one promise I want to make to you today. By the time we're done, you will understand exactly why sugar has a hold on you in this season of life, and it has absolutely nothing to do with willpower. I will say that over and over, and nothing to do with your character, nothing to do with how much you love God or how much God loves you. Absolutely nothing. And we'll talk about all of that. So, but before we dive in, I want to tell you why I am here today. So I on March 23rd, 2017, I was in New Orleans on a business trip, walking down the street. Face went numb, my body began to shake, and by the end of the night, I ended up in two different emergency rooms. And then over the next 2 years, I saw 18 different doctors across four different states, visited two world-renowned medical facilities, and I spent over $20,000 out of pocket. And every single test came back normal. The MRI, the CT scan, the vials and vials of blood work, everything was normal. And my best guess eventually was that it was perimenopause and it was the food that I was eating. So the food that I was eating was causing the twitching in my eyes, the tingling in my feet, the weight gain, the racing heartbeat, and it was also causing brain fog, sleepless nights, anxiety, and I just had absolutely no focus. Anxiety, I think, was the hardest for me because I was always a kind of like suck it up girl, like, it is what it is. Let's keep it moving. And anxiety is real, y'all, if you've never felt it before. And all of this came on, and I was able to get past all of this. And the only thing that I did different was change the food that I ate. Prayer. Prayer is always at the core, but for practical reasons, we'll talk about the food portion today. So during that time, it wasn't ideal timing because I was running a business, I was running a nonprofit, and I was raising my family at the same time. There became a point where I said enough. I realized that what I was eating was connected to what I was feeling, and it was costing me, once again, more than my health. It was costing me time with my family and the ability to do the work I believe God called me to do. It actually caused me to close my nonprofit in 2019. So all of that is why I do what I do. So I want to go ahead and get into it for everyone. In the chat, you guys, there is a link here. You guys should have it. Sometimes it goes away. I'll put it here again just in case. If you can check that link out, we're going to go to page one. Page one of our workbook is titled Where I'm Starting From. All right. Now I want you to just type, well, because you haven't had a chance to print it. So just type, how would you describe your relationship with sugar and cravings right now? And what have you already tried? And I'll give you a minute or so to do that. So, how would you describe your relationship and what have you already tried? All right. All of this, we're going to keep building on this, building layers. So you'll start to see things coming together as we continue through the workshop. Right? So I want to start by saying something that might be a relief to hear. If you have tried to white knuckle your way off sugar and it hasn't worked, that is not a character problem. Again, I'm going to keep repeating that. It's a biology problem, and biology problems need biology answers, not more willpower. Let me give you a picture of what's actually happening inside your body right now, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and the shame goes away. Check the chat real quick. Ooh, yeah. Yep, cold turkey never works. I know. I've been where you are. So I totally respect that. Yes, yes, you're right. So let's talk about what's actually going on. Again, I want to start by saying something, the character and so forth. That is not a character problem, it's a biology problem. So here's what's actually going on. Your body runs on two hormones that matter most for this particular conversation, estrogen and cortisol. Estrogen is the one you've been hearing about in menopause. It's the hormone that, for most of your adult life, helped keep every single thing stable. So, your mood, your sleep, your metabolism, your relationship with food. When the estrogen is steady, you could have a cookie and move on. Just think of your 20-year-old self eating cookies, pizza, and drinking a pop. Wake up the next morning, belly flat, you're fine. You just keep it moving, still have the same energy. So you had a buffer or a cushion then. But in menopause and perimenopause, that cushion goes away. Your estrogen drops, and not gradually, but in waves. It's very, very unpredictable. And sometimes that happens overnight. And here's what that means practically. Your body's ability to manage your blood sugar gets significantly less efficient, right? So let's get specific about what less efficient actually means, because I want you to see the whole mechanism, not just the headline. So the medical name for blood sugar is glucose. Glucose is the fuel that runs every cell in your body, your brain included. When you eat something high in refined sugar, so that donut, boxed cereal, processed food, um, that bagel, something refined sugar or refined carbohydrates, glucose floods your bloodstream and it does it very, very fast. Your pancreas then answers by releasing insulin, whose job it is to sweep sugar out of the body and into the cells. And here's the part almost no one explains. A fast rise in glucose is always followed by an equally fast fall. That fall is called a crash. And you may or may not have recognized that. You'll eat sugar, you'll eat something sweet, you'll get all this energy, and like 10 minutes later, you're like, whoa, what just happened? For some people, it's an hour later. Your body crashes, you start feeling tired and so forth. That is biology. That's what's working inside your body, and that's the impact that sugar can have on it. Your body reads that crash that you have as an emergency, which is exactly what fires the cortisol response. So that's all connected. How your blood sugar is regulated is connected to the cortisol, and the cortisol is your stress hormone. It's made by two small glands that sit on top of your kidneys. In a genuine emergency, cortisol is a gift. If a lion is chasing you, if a car just fell on a child, like cortisol, that's what gives you that sense of energy and urgency. That's good in those situations. But when we trigger it and it's not supposed to be triggered, that's when it begins to work against us. So cortisol, again, can't tell the difference between an actual emergency and a blood sugar crash. It fires the same exact alarm. And when cortisol fires, two things happen at once. First, it screams, get fast fuel. Like right now, I need something. So that's, 3 o'clock vending machine. You knock over the old lady to get to the Snickers bar. And then second, it pulls resources apart from your brain responsible for judgment and clear thinking. So at 3 p.m., why am I being snappy with my employees or with my coworkers? Or why did I just send that email? I wouldn't have done that this morning, or, that's not the normal me. So your judgment and your clear thinking gets off, and all of this is triggered by things that you've eaten. That part of you that says, I don't need that, or I shouldn't do that, it goes completely quiet. Not because you're weak, because cortisol is louder than willpower, and every single time cortisol wins. Glucose and cortisol are in constant conversation with each other, one setting off the other all day long. So, especially on the days you're running on refined sugar. So, if you start your morning with a bagel and orange juice, that your blood sugar is going to spike and fall all day long. This is the actual mechanism behind the wall that you hit at 3 p.m. that we just talked about. Again, not a lack of willpower, just simply biochemistry happening in real time in your body at 3 p.m., more than likely around 3 p.m. each afternoon. And here's the part nobody normally tells us. When you feel shame after reaching for something sweet, that shame actually raises your cortisol level as well. So not only are you getting hit once, then you get hit twice. And so you stay at what I say, you stay at 100 all the time, and you don't want that with your cortisol levels. Elevated cortisol makes the next craving come faster and hit harder. So you are not in discipline failure, you are in this biological loop, and that is what's up on the screen right now, that biological loop. The weight you're noticing around your middle is also cortisol. That is a term called cortisol fat. And it holds right there in the middle. When cortisol stays elevated, and in this season for most women it does. It for me, I was on 100 for probably a year and a half. Your body stores fat specifically in the belly, not because you aren't working hard enough, because your stress hormone is telling your body to hold on to reserves. It doesn't know that threat isn't real. It doesn't know that it's not a lion chasing you. It doesn't know that you just ate a donut kind of thing. It just knows that that signal has been turned on. Again, not a willpower problem. It's a hormonal environment and a biological problem. So I want to show you something before we move on. A lot of times we think, well, I eat good. I eat low-fat yogurt with some fruit on the bottom, or I eat a healthy protein bar, or maybe I just have one can of soda during the day. There's hidden sugar or should sugar is hidden in plain sight in a lot of these. So that little Dannon strawberry fruit in the bottom is 4 teaspoons of sugar. So that's 4 teaspoons is a tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon. So that's a lot of sugar being eaten. Same thing with that healthy Cliff Bar or that Kind bar. Depending on the type of bar, it's about 4 teaspoons of sugar as well. And let's say you have a Dr. Pepper, which was my favorite. That has 10 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can. And what I do in when I do a workshop face to face, I actually show people what that amount of sugar looks like, and everyone's like, so I would challenge you to go in your kitchen, take out the teaspoon after this call, and start put 10 teaspoons of sugar into a little jar and see just how much you're getting. Here's what's really sneaky, as I said before. A lot of times it doesn't show up as sugar on the label, so it hides behind 57 different names: dextrose, maltose, evaporated cane sugar, rice syrup, flavoring, natural, anything with an OS, O-S-E, that's usually sugar, so fructose. It's hidden, and so while we sometimes think that we're making a healthy choice, the healthier choice could possibly be that piece of chocolate cake. Like we don't, you sometimes you don't even know because companies are hiding the sugar, and that sugar is addictive, and it keeps us coming back for more and more and more. And it's not just in sweets, it's in potato chips and almost any packaged product that you buy, you will find sugar in it, right? So the full list again isn't here in the presentation, but inside of Reclaimed, which is the course that I run, is that full list, and then we walk through it and help you navigate how to get around some of those things while you're at the grocery store, right? So I want to go back to the workbook. If you just joined, yeah, I know I love, what? I love sweets too. I always say I'm addicted, and yeah, I'm a recovering sweetaholic. um, if you just joined the call, there is a workbook, so you can get that link in the chat right there. Go ahead and grab that. Let's go to where are we going? Page 2 of the workbook. Let me pull up my workbook real quick. Page 2 is the cycle. So up top you see hormone shift, which you might or may not notice, insulin resistant, then blood sugar spike, which you probably will notice if you feel that burst of energy, that's that blood sugar spike. Then the crash, you will probably know what that is too. Cravings, and of course, you'll recognize that as well. So I want you to look at that and then circle the stage that feels most familiar to you right now. So is it the crash, the craving, the shame afterwards? So repeat could be the shame. And what time of day does it hit? That's important as well. So write those two things down. Take a second and do that. All right. Again, this is just as you keep filling out the things in the workbook, it'll help you after the workshop to go back and see like where your triggers are, because we're going to talk about triggers, but a lot of times that helps you get a quicker solution to your concerns. All right. So I want to name one more thing before we move on, because I think it matters spiritually, not just physically. So many of us have internalized the idea that struggling with food is a faith failure, that if we prayed more, we had more discipline, we could handle it. And I want to push back. I say gently, but I'm going to push a little hard on this and say that your body is not your enemy, and it's also not a referendum on your spiritual maturity. First Corinthians tells us that our bodies are a temple, and temples are maintained, understood, and cared for. They are not shamed into submission. Understanding what's happening in your body is an act of stewardship, not a failure of faith. So I want to share something that my client Wendy said. Wendy, after working with me, said, I participated in a health and wellness program with Stephanie, and I lost 14 pounds and several inches. It has been the only time in my life that I've lost more than 5 pounds. I was supported as well as educated along the way, and the tips have stayed with me. Stephanie has a wealth of knowledge, and she has obtained it the hard way by overcoming serious chronic health issues. God led her then, and God leads her now to help women overcome menopause and food and nutrition issues that we face every day. And then Julia said, when you understand how your metabolism works, then you can fire it up again. A lot of the progress I made, especially in the weight loss area, which is almost 25 pounds now, was related to understanding how to get that metabolism healthy again. Once you get the things inflaming your body out of your body, you feel better. And what I love most about Julia, Julia lives in my local area actually, and so I worked with her a couple years ago, and I've seen her a couple years after, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it still stayed off because we didn't just talk about sugar and nutrition. We got to the root cause of what's going on, which is what I love to do. So I love to see her, and I love that testimony that she has. While we're here, I want to open up the chat. Or is there any questions or anything that's coming up for anyone that you'd like for me to answer or for us to discuss? Okay, if there is, if you can't think of anything now, just put it in the chat and then I'll periodically check in, go back, and then we can go over that. All right. All right, now let's move on to triggers. So I want to get really specific here because understanding biology, it's one step, but as I briefly mentioned before, it's not the whole picture. Sugar cravings aren't only a blood sugar event, they're also an emotional event. And here's something I want you to really hear. You're not undisciplined, you're responding to something. The moment you know what that something is, then everything changes. Every person I've worked with, once they start to understand, oh, this is my trigger, I'm responding to this trigger, there's nothing quote unquote wrong with me or what I'm doing, that's when things change. So I want to go over these 5 different triggers with you and then see if you see yourself in any of these. Not judging yourself, not judging anything, just see if something comes up for you. The first one is stress and overwhelm. So I want you to know that cortisol from stress spikes blood sugar briefly, which then drops. And the craving is physiological, not just emotional. So if you're stressed or you're feeling overwhelmed, I was so stressed out that I had sciatic and neck pain, but I didn't even know I was stressed. I was just like la di la kind of going on. And when I actually sat down, I'm like, oh, he is stressing me out, and so is she. So it took some deeper work to get to that. So stress may come up for you easily, or it may be hidden. So that may be one trigger that you may or may not be aware of. The next is loneliness and disconnection. Estrogen decline reduces oxytocin satisfaction. So we really need connection, not a substitute, not social media. We need to connect with people. So, phone a friend, say hi to a neighbor, what have you. Reward, I deserve this. So there's a mismatch here. The mismatch is between what we reach for and what actually restores us. So we think we need a reward, so we reach for the candy bar. But what may really restore us is a walk or a hobby or something like that. So, and we reward ourselves with um, a golf game or just there could be other ways to reward yourself besides just the sugar. Boredom and restlessness is kind of self-explanatory. That's where I fell a lot. And once I understood the root of what was going on, I was able to navigate through that. Grief and emotional pain. So, this is the quietest and most common trigger in midlife. When you hear grief, a lot of times people think of someone passing away, but it may be grief for the person that you've become, grief for the person you thought you would be, grief because a child has graduated from high school and you're an empty nester now. So, it can be a lot of different things that show up for you. But here's a pattern I want you to walk away with. It feels like this, so we do this. If it feels like overwhelm, the answer isn't a cookie, it's completing the stress response, right? If it feels like restlessness, the answer is real stimulation, not numbing. And a lot of times in our minds, we may think, oh, people who drink alcohol or do drugs or things like that, they're people who numb. But sugar is numbing. Sugar is very, very comforting. I'm just saying. So we have to recognize it for what it is. It triggers the same dopamine response in our brain that crack cocaine does. So there was a study done with mice, and it was in, I think it was in London. It was a European study. So they gave mice they it got the mice addicted to drugs, and then they gave them the option of getting more crack or getting sugar water. And I think it was 93 or 94% of the mice chose the sugar water over the crack cocaine. So the response in your brain is very, very similar or is the same as it would be to any other type of drug. So not to scare you, not to make it all weird, but I just want to let you know the impact that sugar has on you is real. Right. Once you can name which trigger you're in, then you stop being blindsided, and that becomes the whole shift. Not eliminating the trigger, recognizing the trigger. And again, in Reclaimed, it's where we get to the root cause and where that knowing that root cause is where it really helps. All right. So let's go to page 3 of the workbook. Page 3 of the workbook is about your trigger. So circle, take some time. Well, you can't circle because you probably didn't print it out, but highlight, bold, or what have you, your stress response. And again, sometimes it takes people a minute, a day. Sometimes it takes people a month to recognize what their stress, their trigger is. So you got like a minute here today. You can always do this later, but what's your initial response? And if anyone would like to share, I'd love to hear. Oh, I see. Is it Delisa? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What the reward is, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I
All right.
I probably share a little bit too much. I apologize to everyone. What I find is that from incorrect development or incomplete, I'll say, development in early age, the coping mechanisms on top of how trauma was, I internalized my trauma, makes sugar that much more rewarding. It makes me that much more apt to go toward it when I am feeling lonely or discouraged or grieving. And it is so interesting to me that so many different things in my life. I'm 55. I am in menopause at this point in my life.
Right.
And how many things, how God created us so immaculately that everything is so connected that working on one thing is actually, it has fixed or helped something else. And I think I got this. I'm trying this sugar thing. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm trying.
I think it's simply amazing when you, especially if you have someone to help walk through and get through that to that root cause. I think it's important. And what you said reminded me of a story. So in the podcast, I've interviewed a coach, and she was trying to help a woman. The woman was doing so well in every other aspect, and she just could not get past the sugar part. And when they went deeper, that candy bar was that reward that her mom had a lifestyle, I'll just put it that way. And before she would bring people into the home, she would take her daughter to get any type of sweet she wanted, but she just had to sit in the room and just be quiet. So that candy became her friend and it became her reward. And until that like clicked in her mind, and she was like in her 50s as well, she didn't recognize how much control that sugar had on her. And so it's deep. It's not just it tastes good. Ooh, I love a Snickers bar, or I love to drink Dr. Pepper. It can be really, really deep. So I respect that, and I thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, awesome, awesome. Right. Well, let's talk about freedom. So we've talked about what the triggers look like. Let's talk about freedom. So if willpower isn't the answer, let's talk about what is the answer. I want to paint a picture of what's actually possible because I think most of us have only lived in two modes. Restriction, I'm just going to 100% just give up all sweets and just restrict what I eat and so forth, or just giving in. You know what? I'm just going to eat the chocolate cake and life will be life. So we've lived in those two modes, but there's a third option, and it's the one that I practice to live in now, and it's a life of freedom. And freedom isn't like straining past every craving for the rest of your life. Freedom is regulating the cycle underneath. So the blood sugar, the cortisol, and knowing your triggers well enough that they don't blindside you anymore. So the cravings start to get more quiet, not gone forever, but just more quiet, more manageable. The kind where a cookie is a choice, not a 3 p.m. emergency, and not an 8 p.m. act of soothing. Freedom feels like Tuesday afternoon when your blood sugar is stable and you walk through the kitchen and the cookies on the counter are just cookies. One of my last clients, she was in our last round of our sugar release, and she said, I was in the kitchen and my husband was eating, I can't remember what it was, but it was her favorite. And she said, I just walked past him and I didn't think of twice about it until I just got on this call with you. And I thought, oh, it didn't even bother me. So she had worked through the course enough where it just became another sweet, not something that was drawing her. It wasn't a test of her character. It didn't become a negotiation. Food, it becomes food that you can take and leave because you are not in that crash and you know it. So that is the difference between discipline and design. Discipline makes you push harder, so you got to go through the craving. You have to do all this hard work. And the design says build the conditions where pushing that hard isn't necessary most of the time. It's not saying all of the time. It won't be perfect. Our church says no perfect people allowed. So you will not be perfect. No one's perfect except for God. But it becomes less and less necessary for you to be white knuckling the whole situation, right? So one of my clients, Lynn Ann told me that, I've been working out and fasting, eating only between, I think it's on the next, maybe it's not. She's on this one. So I've been working out and fasting, eating only between 6 p.m. I'm sorry, between noon and 6 p.m. Then she would have a snack at 8 p.m. So she was basically starving herself all day. And she was working out really hard because she was getting ready for a marathon, but she still couldn't lose weight. I started working with Stephanie, and after 3 weeks, lost 7 pounds, and I was eating more and exercising less. Notice what happened there. She didn't out discipline the problem. She changed what her body was actually running on. That's design, not willpower, right? So I want to give you something concrete to leave with today because what's the point of showing up to a workshop if you ain't got something good to take home, right? So you'll understand your triggers, we'll keep working through the workbook, but I want you to do a couple of things for me. So tomorrow morning, or it can be this afternoon, what have you, before you eat anything, read one ingredient label, just one, and use what we talked about, the hidden sugars. Try to recognize a hidden sugar in that ingredient label. And then two, every time a craving hits this week for the next 7 days, before you reach for anything, ask yourself, is this stress, loneliness, reward, boredom, grief? Name it out loud or in your head. Just name it. Don't own it. Don't say that I am stressed or I am grieving. Just say, this is what it is, and then keep it moving. This is versus I am, two totally different impacts on your system, right? So this is grief, keep it moving. And then go back to page 4 in your workbook. We're going to go over that in just a minute. Your highest risk moment, and do the one thing you wrote down the next time that moment arrives. Not the whole new lifestyle, just one moment. All right. Perfect. So that's real. It will help. But I want to be honest with you about something because I've watched this happen for years with tons and tons of different women. A plan doesn't fail because it's a bad plan. It often fails for two very specific reasons. First, motivation decays. Whatever you feel right now, sitting here, that feeling has a shelf life measured in days, not months, but just days. And second, something you didn't account for always happens. So day 12, you're not feeling well. Day 20, you're responsible for taking your parents to the doctor's appointment that's 2 hours away and you got to grab a quick snack on the way. Day 27, you're at a wedding and there's a cake on every table. Every plan, no matter how good, meets a moment it didn't plan for. And in that moment, what you need is not another worksheet. You need to have built the structure within yourself to navigate those moments, know what to do in that moment, and then know that you have a community, a family that can help navigate that moment through with you. Here's something you could do tonight. Let's say you're thinking, oh, this sounds great. I'll just use a ChatGPT and come up with a sugar fast, and I'm going to just do the sugar fast. Awesome. You can do that. It might even look good on paper. What it can't do is sit with you on day 20 when you've slipped and tell you, from having actually walked in the season myself, that you're not starting over, you're continuing. It can't put you in a room with other women who are actually where you are at that specific time on that specific day. And it has never walked through your body. Like AI does not know what it feels like to be menopausal. Only we as women know. Ain't all heaven, ain't all cherries and ice cream. So it won't know exactly what you're going to. It has no lived experience to offer you, and it cannot sit in community with you. That part, the part that actually gets you through, has never been something you can just generate. It's something you have to be held through. So I'm not telling you that to talk you out of trying this on your own. Try it. Use what I gave you today. It will help. I'm telling you because I want you to notice, honestly, over these next 7 days, which of those two things happens to you. Either the motivation fades or life starts throwing you a different plan or things start coming up, because that's exactly the gap that we fill and reclaim. That's what Reclaim was built to do. And I'll show you at the end how that actually happens. So, all right. So let's go back to our workbook and go to page 6 of your workbook. We're skipping a couple pages here, but there's method to the madness. So page 6 says, if the cycle, if you don't have it, the link is in the chat. If the cycle were regulated and your triggers were known, not perfect, just calmer, what would your relationship with food and energy feel like? And I want you to write one sentence. I'll give you a second or so. And Eileen, I
I'm
just
sorry,
saw.
can you please repeat that?
Oh, sure, sure. If the cycle were regulated and your triggers were known, not perfect, just calmer, what would your relationship with food and energy feel like? So, like if everything was going pretty well, what would that your relationship with food and energy feel like? Just one sentence. All right. Oh, I like that. Balanced. Don't we all don't we all want to be that? Yeah, I like that a lot. And Eileen, I saw your comment as well, so I won't read it because I saw it. It was a little it was separated from the full chat, so I won't read it, but I saw it. And then yeah, I like that balanced. Anyone else? Again, you don't have to share. I just want to throw that out to you in case you do want to. Hmm. Yep. So at a complete loss as to how you would feel or what your relationship would be with food. And that could be very understandable because sometimes if we haven't had that, we don't know what that would feel like. Yeah, 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 yeah. Understandable. All right. Nice. Thank you. I appreciate you guys sharing. Right. So when I put this out there, I want to make sure that I didn't leave Christ out. So I'm going to segue to the faith bridge just a little, and then wrap up some of the rest of the sugar portion. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes to go somewhere that I think is at the heart of why this is so hard and why it can actually get better and easier. And it has nothing to do with food. One of the most devastating things that happens to women in this season is this. We start to believe that our body is broken, that something has gone wrong with us, that what we see in the mirror and what we feel in our body and what we cannot seem to fix, no matter how hard we try, is somehow evidence that we are a failure, that we have failed, and maybe even evidence that God made us wrong or there's something wrong with us. This is Psalm 139, actually verses 1 through 18 is my favorite, one of my favorite pieces of scripture. Because he talks about David talks about how the Lord can see when we sit and when we rise. He says, how can I go from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I go to the depths, you're there. If I'm out at sea, you are there. You're always there. You always know me. You knit me together in my mother's womb. All of that is in Psalm 139. So I pulled out this piece. Um, yeah, sometimes it catches me off guard. I don't know why I've read this 3 times this week. Um, Psalm 139:14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Sit with that and sit with those words for a moment. Like we think we're not, well, not we. We may think, or some people may think. Sometimes I want to be politically correct, and sometimes I'm just talking, so you get where I'm coming from. But there may be times where we feel like we're not enough, or we're not showing up enough, or sugar has control of us. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. The Hebrew word for fearfully here is yar, and it means with reverence, with awe. You were made with awe, not with carelessness, not with afterthought, with the same reverence that the psalmist had standing before God. That is the body that you are in right now in this season, with the hormones and the belly fat and 3 p.m. craving and the exhaustion and the sleepless nights. This body is the one that was made with awe. And if God says it's awesome, you got to believe it, right? So, what does it mean to surrender a body you've been fighting? What does stewardship look like when you are depleted and discouraged and you've started over so many times that you've lost count? I think it starts here, releasing the verdict, releasing the idea that your body is broken, that you are broken, that this is what you deserve or what you're like stuck with. That is not surrender to God. That is agreement with a lie. And the devil is the liar. God is not the liar. So we do not want to be in agreement with a lie. True surrender sounds more like this: God, I don't fully understand this body or this season, but I believe you made it. I believe you can lead me through it. I am releasing my need to punish it with compliance. I am releasing my shame about what it looks like and what it wants. I am offering it back to you, not as a sacrifice of deprivation, but as an act of trust. Help me steward what you made. All right. Romans 12:1 tells us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, which is your true and proper worship, not a dead sacrifice, a living sacrifice, something that is still moving, still breathing, still in process, still being made. We are not done. This body is not a verdict, and the work ahead, if we choose it, is not punishment, it's stewardship. What we need to understand is at this point in life, um, God has a plan for each and every one of us. We need to pay attention to what that plan is, learn to care for it with the same reverence that David had. And that is our ongoing worship for God. And it starts right here, right now, exactly where we are. I'm going to have you go to page 5 of the workbook. For if you just joined, the workbook is a link to the workbook is in the chat. I'll put it back in there again. And if we go to page 5, hold on for a second. Let me find page 5. It's a prayer release. So there are 3 questions, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go over this. And you can all read, but in case someone doesn't have it, I will read those to you. The first one is, what verdict have you been carrying about your body in this season? So what have you told yourself that is a lie? right? What do you want to release to God right now? And then write one sentence of prayer of surrender, not a formula, just in your own words, write a prayer of surrender. Okay, and I'll take myself off video and then I'll silence for about, well, about a minute and a half. Okay, hopefully everyone had time to do that, but the link is still available here. And then after, I'll send a replay, and then I'll also send the link as well. I think I mentioned it at top, and if, for those of you who may have joined a little later, sometimes it goes into your spam or under promotions. So if you want to hear the replay and get the information or work through this again, make sure that you're checking everywhere in order to see it. All right. All right, perfect. So here's where I want to land with all of that. You came today because something in you knew there was more than just willpower involved. And you were right. I've told you that over and over today. You've spent the last hour understanding the biology, naming your triggers, taking a real first step. And if you went there with me, releasing some of the verdict you've been carrying about your own body. It's real work. And so what you did today is real. Own that. But here's what I know from years of doing this. Understanding is step one. Women who understand everything and change nothing, I've watched it happen over and over. The information just finds a shelf, life comes back in, and 90 days from now, everything is the same. The women who actually change, not temporarily, like actually change, they don't do it alone. They do it in structure and community with daily rhythm and accountability, and something that holds them on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. What got me through those 2 years is accountability. I had one person who coddled me a little bit. Oh, you're great. Read the scripture. Let's pray. And another person was just like kicking my butt. Put on your big girl panties. You need to do it. And I needed both of those. But more importantly, I needed an accountability. And so it is super important. Motivation is not a personality trait. It is a fluctuating resource, and motivation runs out. And when it runs out, whatever's going on in your environment takes over. And I built Reclaim to support you when motivation runs out. I wanted to tell you about one of my clients. Her name is Tanisha, and she came to me after a birthday vacation. She put on a bathing suit for the first time in months and said, and I'm quoting her, "This is ridiculous. What in the world happened to me?" She had been blaming menopause, so because we all do. And here's the thing, menopause is part of it, but what she told me changed everything for her. A lot of things are still based on what we are doing personally in our choices. Tanisha took ownership, and then she did the 40 days. By the end, I could visibly see the change in her facial structure. Her hair had grown. She's told me that her nails are growing. Her sleep had shifted. I think her shi sleep shifted. It was either week 1 or week 2, so that actually happened pretty quickly for her. So she also said, it wasn't that my hair couldn't grow. It's like now I've avoided some of the things that were stopping the natural progress of what your body should do. And she said something about the program that I want everyone to hear. Great coaching is someone helping someone to take ownership of their own journey so that they can repeat that thing whether they're with you or not. And what is so cool about Tanisha's story is she's doing the 40 days again, but she's teaching her parents how to do the fast as well. So she's building legacy around getting healthy. One thing that we talked about several times is you're not starting over, you're just continuing. And again, she went on and she's doing another 40 days. Another client, Tanya, said, Stephanie developed a personalized eating plan and advised me on some do's and don'ts. My numbers are now back in the normal range and I'm feeling better than ever. Tanya's doctor had told her she was pre-diabetic. And then Contrita told me, what you had said to me, the naturopath echoed. You know what women are going through and you know how to help get them through it. So the Reclaim, that program that I've been talking about is Reclaimed 40 Days. And here is exactly how it works. Every Monday at noon Eastern, we're together on a Zoom call live as a group for 90 full minutes. This is not a pre-recorded video. We come on, we pray together, we ask and answer questions, there's teaching, there's group coaching. You'll hear other women get coached in real time, and something that happens when you realize, or something does happen often when you realize that someone is asking the same exact question that you wanted to ask, or maybe you've been afraid to bring up. That's the Monday call, and it's the heartbeat of the entire program. I'm also in the group text on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. So if you have additional questions, maybe you're running to the grocery store Tuesday morning, you want to put in the text, should I buy this or what's a substitute for this? I'm active on those 2 mornings as well. So you get 3 days with me. Not so it's not a big anonymous online group where nobody sees your message. It's a group text. You can send a question at 10 a.m. that morning, and I'm there. Share a win, ask for prayer, get real-time support between calls. And then there's the resource library. So there's 10 private audio podcast episodes that walk along with you throughout the 40 days. Biologically, day 17 hits differently than day 23. So there will be an audio specifically for that day when I know triggers are happening in biology. Doesn't happen 100% with every woman, but the majority of women will feel certain things on certain days. That's what the audios and videos are for, to help you navigate through those. You'll also get 9 PDFs, and it's including the full hidden sugar guide. So not just a couple that I mentioned today. Every one of the names of the sugar, every one of the names sugar hides under. And then the meal prep game plan, I call it my emergency food. Like I always have 4 different things in my refrigerator at all times. And I teach you why I have those in my refrigerator, how you may say, well, I don't like that, how you can substitute out and why it's going to help with those sugar cravings. And then the reclaimed journal with daily prayer pages and a progress tracking beyond the scale. Because we don't just, one of my clients was like, I'm not weighing myself. I know where that takes me. I'm like, all right, let's think about other ways where you can see changes. So they were able to see changes in their sleep pattern, changes in their anxiety, other changes took place. So we don't have to weigh someone to see victory come about through this. And the repair reclaimed prayer framework. That's 5 specific prayers for 5 specific moments. So morning, before meals, during a craving, after a slip, and at the close of each day. Of course, you can make up your own prayers, but those are just offered as guidance. You can start anytime. All content is available to you on day one. And the weekly live calls, the next round starts August 10th. So again, you can go ahead, sign up today, or and the weekly calls start on August 10th. The program fits around your life, and the time commitment gets lighter as the week goes on. So by week 4, most women tell me it stopped feeling like a program and start feeling like how they normally live. Their eating patterns have changed and so forth. Here's something Reclaim does differently. If you slip during the 40 days, and most women do at some point, I was on a 40-day fast and I ate throughout the 40 days, I ate bread 5 times. I'm like, those are my slips. But I didn't start over. I continued. And that's what we talk about. Language matters. What does this word say? We have to speak life over ourselves. So, language really matters in what we do. One of my clients, she said that again, I'm not starting over, I'm continuing, and she's finished the program as well. That simple shift in our language changed everything for her. She was on day 20 and she had ice cream. She's like, you know what? I'm not starting over, I'm just continuing. So, again, language is really important, and that's things that we talk about as well. So, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself about this. How many New Year's or weekdays or Mondays or after the holidays or after the weddings, how many times have you said to yourself or sat down with really good intention that you were going to start? And I'm not asking you that to make you feel bad. I'm not asking you that out of shame. I will be completely transparent. The reason that my body crashed so hard is because a year, maybe even more before, not every time, but a lot of times I would pull up with something on social media. The Lord kept telling me in my ear, you need to make a change. You need to make a change. Stop eating sugar. I would see this over and over. So I had my warning. I didn't take my warning, and then I crashed for 2 years. So I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just letting you know that my experience um, resonates exactly with what I'm saying. I'm asking it because what I want you to do, I want you to notice the pattern because oftentimes our patterns have a cost. Every month that that cycle runs, the habits that we have go deeper. So every season you stay in the loop, the belly weight accumulates a little bit more, your sleep is disrupted more, the hot flashes get louder. And then things like I had, tingling in the hands and feet. So the beginning of neuropathy, all of that keeps happening. And here's the part I really want you to hear. You have a calling, you have a purpose. Little did I know 2 years being sick would lead me to my purpose of a podcast and even talking to you right now. And that may or may not even be your path. But through all of it, I always say there's pain in my purpose, and you too have a purpose. And we cannot fulfill our purpose that the Lord has for us if we are sick, if we're exhausted, if we have brain fog, if you're eating too much sugar, or if we're living in shame. And that is not a small thing to address when you get around to it. It is the whole thing. So I want you to do this. Think about what it looks like 20 days from now. That's where most women in Reclaim tell me they hit their first critical mark. The cravings get more quiet and the sleep has normally shifted. The weight around the middle, they can start to see some changes. That's less than 3 weeks away. 20 days from now, you can be exactly where you are today, or you can be someone who slept better last week, walked through the kitchen without negotiating with that chocolate chip cookie, showed up to the morning at work or with your family with a clear head, have more energy if you're in a sandwich generation to raise those kids and take care of those parents. Those 20 days are going to pass no matter what you decide to do with them. The question is, what are you going to do with those 20 days? So let me tell you what it is all worth. I'll pull that up for you real quick. So normally, when you do like a one-on-one with someone and they have sugar coaching, not group, just one-on-one coaching, it runs around $600 to $900 just for that 1 week, right? So you're not getting the videos and the PDFs or the meal planning just for that 1 month. Again, I'm sorry, normally between $600 and $900. No community, no library. With Reclaimed 40 days, it's $250. One payment, no subscription, no hidden fees, everything for the full 40 days. And again, we start on August 10th. And because you're live here today, a lot of people love group and they also want to have one-on-one time with me so that they can talk specifically about what's going on in their body. If you sign up before midnight tonight, I'm going to add to this a one-on-one call with me. It's a 60-minute call, normally valued at $150. That'll be free when you sign up for Reclaimed at the $250 mark, right? So, Dr. Farron said this after working with me. Wow, it's truly life-changing and unlike any additional guide I've ever seen. I've read about the effects of cortisol on weight loss, but this plan targets that in a unique way. I believe this produces long-term results and will improve my life in more than just nutrition, right? So here is the other thing I want you to know. There is no risk here. If you show up for the first 7 days to the call, you go to the group text, you do the daily work, and you still feel stuck, tell me. I will set up another one-on-one with you. I will not charge you for that one-on-one. My whole goal, my whole desire is for you to be successful. Your success is my success. So I'm not here to add restrictions. Well, you didn't get it done, so blah blah blah. No, I will continue to work with you. And what I think also is important is like what happens after 41 days? So the program doesn't end. I'm building a community. You keep your community access. That means any workshops, retreats, or special events that I offer, you have access to them. You also continue to have access to the women in the group. So the relationships you build during the 40 days don't disappear. And you receive the Reclaimed Life Framework. It's a daily rhythm and a clear plan for what to do when the old patterns try to come back. So there's two links. I'm showing you the links there, but let me pull up the links here because it'll make it a little easier. Let's say that you're sitting on the fence and you're like, just met you, lady. I trust you, but I need some more information. That's the information right there. That's going to go over all of the information that I just provided today. You're going to get an hour-long case study of one of the clients who just went through Reclaim. So that builds another level of credibility because it allows you to see that what we do, what I do works. I am already praying for you. We'll continue to pray for you because I believe that once we start praying for one another, that's when we actually see change. If you're on the call and you're saying, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to sign up. I know this is what I need. I just put that other link in there, and you can use that link to sign up. So I want to open the chat back up and see if anyone has any questions. Okay, I'm not hearing any. I'll give you I will also, again, I'll send you an email, and the email will have my contact information. It'll have a replay of this, and it'll have all those links in there as well. All right. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time, your energy. I love when people talk back to me. That makes it great as well. So, again, you have until tonight if you would like to get that bonus one-on-one with me, and you can just use the Thrive Card link and sign up there. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Have an amazing day. Here's to your health.